It's been over 3 years since victims of heavy floods in Mamelodi were displaced. Promises by then Premier David Makhura to provide alternative housing have come to naught. And today, an Ad Hoc Joint Committee on Flood Disaster Relief will visit these residents. Well, eNCA's reporter Moloko Moloto is in Mamelodi right now ahead of that oversight visit. And Malume, good morning to you. Great to have you this morning. I just wonder if it will be a pleasant morning for those displaced all those years ago, being promised even by the then Premier David Makhura that they would be placed into homes. What does this visit promise today?
Good morning, Rahadi. Well, we are going to hear from those victims of the floods a little bit later. We are still in Tshwane at the council chambers of the city of Tshwane. This is where the formal briefing is taking place. I understand that at this point in time, the MEC for Coxla in Gauteng, Mr. Mzi Khumalo, is currently making a presentation before this joint committee of parliament. It comprises members from the National Assembly as well as the National Council of Provinces, the two houses of parliament. And we obviously, as members of parliament, the expectation is that they must hold accountable those who have or had the responsibility to do what had to be done here. And we obviously will have to hear from them as well, both the chairpersons of or those who are leading this particular joint committee, but also the province itself, including the role that would have been played by the municipality of Tshwane.
So, I mean, with that being said, obviously we do expect Panyaza Lesufi as the Premier of Gauteng to also make his way there during the oversight visit, but also the point being around those who've been displaced. Malume, what do we know at this stage, just in terms of where they are and how their living conditions have been post that flooding incident there?
Well, in terms of the program, indeed, the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, was meant to be here, but I'm told that he is not coming. But a member of his Provincial Executive Council, Mzi Khumalo, responsible for Coxla, is representing him here. Of course, some of the people are not happy. Some of them have been saying that they really have not been given or the shelters which they had been promised. And the other thing is that particularly at the Eerste Fabrieke informal settlement, one of the complaints, at least from the authorities, was that the people who were staying there, they had invaded that particular piece of land, and it was right on the riverbanks. It was not suitable for them to stay there, and they have had to look for another alternative place for them. Of course, we'll at a later stage, later today, get to hear from them as to exactly what didn't happen, and we'll also get to witness where some of them are staying at this point in time. Even importantly, because it is winter time now, it would be important to be able to witness whether they are staying under conditions that are conducive for them, but also for their children. But the fact that some of them or those people had decided to stay there speaks to the lack of perhaps housing in this province of Gauteng. And we know that many people do migrate to Gauteng because as the economic hub of the country, they believe that they will be able to get better opportunities. But it also speaks to the failure on the side, particularly of the local government, to enforce the bylaws, to ensure that people do not occupy land which they are not supposed to occupy, because it does endanger their lives. And of course, some people would argue that people do have the rights to settle if they do not have anywhere they are staying. But the local authorities do have a responsibility, obviously, to ensure that people do not stay wherever they may want to stay.
Absolutely. And just on the other hand, before I let you go, can we also expect the committee team to visit Hammanskraal today?
Yes, they are going to be going to the areas in Hammanskraal, in Ramotse specifically, but I have been told that this is not going to be about the recent cholera outbreak in the area of Hammanskraal. This particular committee is here specifically to monitor progress with regard to the commitments and promises that were made with regard to relocating people who were affected by floods. So I suppose the people of Hammanskraal should not expect much from this committee in as far as the issue of the cholera outbreak and the issue of potable water is concerned. Of course, we saw the president in the past few weeks going there, making commitments. Also, the National Department of Water and Sanitation also making commitment. But I suppose the people of Gauteng or Hammanskraal and even those affected here in Mamelodi shouldn't really, they should understand the role of Parliament. It comes to play an oversight role. They really are not here to implement anything. That is the responsibility of the executive arm of the state, be it from the national cabinet or national executive or from the province, but also from the municipality. However, as the legislators, as people who ought to hold those on the side of executive accountable, they must demand answers. They must also be able to demand that those who did not do their work be held accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. That clarity quite important, because surely, everyone can understand under these desperate circumstances. If you are a resident of Hammanskraal, the epicenter of a cholera outbreak, and you see, parliamentarians come in to conduct an oversight visit, that could very well turn into an engagement where you expect something to be done out of desperation, not necessarily perhaps even understanding the roles that each key role players play. But thank you so much for that clarity, colleague, just in terms of what this oversight visit is expected to achieve. And Moloko Moloto will be on the ground for us as and when it's expected to happen today. We understand there's still, though, a bit of a meeting going on, and as soon as, of course, they begin with their oversight visitations to various areas out in Pretoria, Moloko Moloto will be on the ground to give us the very latest.